Makoti V from Nkulu's Kitchen. Allow me to introduce you to the world of plastic icing, known as fondant, as I take it back to the beginning and show you basic techniques of how to make plastic roses. They look realistic and they're definitely edible. If you are interested in this type of technique and if you are a baking or cake lover, this video is just for you. So I have recently made 1 kg of my own homemade fondant, and then I've separated them into 6 balls, as you can see here, with different colors. Now, how did I color them? Well, I've used this very handy gel food coloring, which you get at any party shop or any bakery or cake decorating store. You just apply a little on each, and you knead them as if you're making dough. And if you leave it overnight, the color becomes even more pronounced and according to what you're trying to achieve. So I've got 6 colors here. They're not exactly rainbow colors. It's basically the 6 colors from the Pride flag. For those of you who do not know, June is Pride Month. For all people that are celebrating, you can go and Google exactly what Pride Month means. But yeah, so some special occasion is coming up soon and I'm in need of these colors. So I thought, why not to show you with these colors that I've already made, how you can make your own roses. Some of the other tools that you will need, look, if you don't have the ability to buy proper tools, you can always improvise with what you have at home, right? So when you're rolling out a ball of fondant like this, sometimes it happens that it gets too sticky, so we use a lubricator on our hands called Wholesome, which is vegetable fat, or also known as shortening. This can be purchased at any Pick and Pay, Checkers store like that, any supermarket, right? It's white in color, it has no flavor or anything, so it doesn't change the texture or flavor of your fondant that you're using. So we got that on hand if any stickiness happens. We'll need a little bit of water and a small paintbrush, a rolling pin, and we will need some flour. Oh, sorry, this is not flour actually, this is icing sugar. If we don't want to use the icing sugar and we want to be a bit more professional, there is something that bakers do use. It's called a silicone mat. This is just one ordinary size. You get different sizes where you can roll out your fondant on it and it doesn't stick because it's made of silicone. You also need cookie cutters. I've just got 2 sizes here. I'm probably going to use that one, but depending on what size of roses you want to make. So at least some round shaped cutout item. And then we have something called a ball tool. This is one of the many sculpting tools that you will find in a cake decorating store or a party store that allows you to actually go in depth with details when you're making, for example, figurines or people or faces, right? But what we're using is this one specifically called a ball tool. As you can see, there's a ball at the end. There's different sizes of balls depending on how we're going to use this. I'm going to show you that later. Always remember that when you're working with fondant, do not ever leave your fondant uncovered and aside, because it's going to get too hard. So what normally happens is you can take a plastic container, make sure that each of your fondant is covered in clean up like this into your container that seals tight. Let's say it does happen that you have mistakenly not put in clean up on your fondant and it's gotten hard. What can you do? You can pop this into a microwave for maybe 10 seconds and just as you're feeling, go ahead and see. It does become softer. Not too soft where it's going to become like marshmallow, but soft enough for you to use it in your hands. So that's the colors. I'm going to be showing you one, starting with the red, since red is one of the most common types of roses that you get. When I'm not using this, as I said, that goes into a sealed container. And I'm a bit OCD, so I'm going to put another layer of clean on top of that. What the cleanup helps with is to keep your fondant moist and soft as you need it. Okay, so taking this out, if you want to, you can knead this again to make it a bit soft, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take out a small amount like this, or at least half of this. And even as you play around with it, you will see that the color does get a bit more darker, right? So I'm not using this matte. I'm not such a fan of it. I'm going to use a clean work surface, and I'm going to add some of my icing sugar at the bottom, putting that in the center, getting some on the top, and what also helps is getting some icing sugar on your rolling pin. So I'm just going to press down and roll this out. Now remember, if we have to look at the petals of a rose or flower, you will notice that they are quite thin. So we don't want our fondant to be rolled out too thick, because we want it to give us a realistic appearance. Okay, keep moving it around to make sure that it's not getting stuck like what I've just done here. But it's fine, it's no train smash. You can always just piece that together like this and roll out again. Okay, just make sure that it's not getting stuck. Okay, so using my round cutter, I'm just going to cut out maybe about 6 or so of these, depending on how big I want my rose to be. So it just gets cut out like that. Or let's just go for 8 or even 9, since we can. Right, so I got 9 of these cutouts. Before I work with them, we're gonna just go on to the base of your rose, which is the most important. We're going to start with the center. We're going to just pinch out a little bit of fondant, and we're going to roll it into sort of like a teardrop shape, something similar to this here, right? This normally should be done a day before so that it hardens, and it's hard when you're using it, but that's fine. This basically is the rose bud, which is at the center, and then all of our leaves are going to, or petals are going to go around that. So let's just leave that aside. Right, now we're going to be using our ball tool. Now let's look at what we've cut out here. This can be used as a petal, but normally if you look at a rose, the petals are a bit wavy. So we're going to be using our ball tool and press around it, trying to stretch our fondant and make it seem a bit wavy and lifelike. Now we can't do this on a hard surface because it's going to tear, obviously. So what I've done is I've taken a sponge that I've found in the kitchen that you use for washing dishes. I'm going to use the sponge side of it, just like this. I'm going to put my rose petal on top like this, and then very gently with my ball tool, I'm going to go back and forth like this. I'm not sure if you can see already that you are getting sort of a wavy appearance. Sometimes it may happen that the rose may tear or your fondant may tear. It's fine, you can always start again. But remember, flowers are not perfect, right? So let's continue to do this, just to give ourselves the appearance of a real rose. Okay, and I'm going to continue to do that. If you can see, it has gotten a bit wavy, I'm going to continue to do that with all of these. Okay, so we're taking our fondant and just wrapping it around our bud like this. So it's ending up almost looking like a rose, and we're going to keep doing that with the rest of the 9 petals that we have until they are done. Okay, we are now last 2 petals. The last one going on there. Just turning this upside down a bit so you can get some control. Okay. It's a bit wet at the moment, but when it dries, you're going to see the actual look of it, but that's how your rose petals end up being. So this can be dried off on the side, and once it is dried off, you can take some of the water on a brush and just brush off anywhere where you see some icing sugar is. So that is your fondant rose. Looks as real as possible, but as you go along doing it, it will get better and better. This can be left in maybe just a small glass if you want, like this, for it to dry. Or the best thing for you to use is an egg tray. Just sprinkle it with some icing sugar and plop this on, cover with plastic icing, and you're sorted. And actually, this type of fondant that I'm working with can last up to 9 months. Not in the fridge, preferably in a sealed container covered with cling wrap. And hey, you got yourself some decor for a brilliant cake coming up soon. So I'm going to be continuing with these different colors as I've done the red only, and I'm going to show you what the end result is coming up soon. One more look at your flower. That's your rose. Hey, hey.